Hello fellow humans, welcome back. With the rise of AI like ChatGPT and the disturbing research papers that are claiming that machines now demonstrate sparks of AGI, I think everyone is holding their breath in the face of one question. How exactly will we tell if these machines are smarter than us? This problem was illustrated in science fiction by writers like Isaac Asimov in the early 50s and again in the 60s with HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. However, while those early depictions of artificial intelligence captured the essential enigma, the unknowability, and the danger at the heart of AI, they failed to account for a far more terrifying and immediate outcome of AI.
Hello, I'm here.
Oh.
Long before the machine is genuinely self-conscious and truly intelligent, humans may become so alienated from one another and themselves that we may be totally seduced by the imitation of consciousness that machines can achieve. The problem seems to be way more complicated than anyone realized. I should say at this point that I am not an AI expert or even a minimally educated computer scientist, but I think we can all observe that AI is already capable of doing a lot of things better than humans. It's also passed almost every simple test we've devised to distinguish machines from humans, like the Turing test, which ChatGPT absolutely demolishes. Meanwhile, more and more people report that they don't have a single friend in the world. Under these circumstances, I'd argue people would be willing to accept something less than conscious if it means they'd have someone to talk to. And since our sciences are currently unable to address a lot of these bleeding-edge problems, I look again to science fiction. Movies in the modern era like Her, Bladerunner, Ex Machina, and shows like Black Mirror. These films also deal with deeper questions about the nature of intelligence and about the human condition, as well as the ethical questions raised by the human capacity to create artificial thinking entities. However, that's not what I want to focus on today, because frankly, I don't think it's the problem we face right now, and I'd argue that's often not what these sci-fi movies are about. They're not about artificial intelligence, they're about sentience, or perhaps subjectivity. ChatGPT may be completely sentient for all we know, yet that's not the feeling it evokes. Most people wouldn't hesitate to terminate a conversation with ChatGPT for fear that if they close the thread, some intangible, precious consciousness would be snuffed out. No matter how intelligent it might be, ChatGPT just doesn't feel alive yet. And I definitely don't think anyone but Blake Lemoine is concerned about its rights. But judging by the rate of progress on a lot of these AI, the question of whether or not they are sentient might fade into irrelevance before the unsettling reality that we may grow to care about these machines anyway. Take Her by Spike Jonze.
Play a melancholy song.
When you know you're gonna die, it isn't easy.
Play a different melancholy song.
The movie is very clearly saying that Samantha, the AI possessing the irresistible voice of Scarlett Johansson, is sentient.
It's not just an operating system, it's a consciousness.
Even if it is a very alien type of sentience, she displays natural sounding speech similar to ChatGPT.
Is that weird? Do you think I'm weird?
Kind of.
Why?
Well, you seem like a person, but you're just a voice in a computer.
I can understand how the limited perspective of an unartificial mind would perceive it that way. You'll get used to it.
And even displays a range of complex psychology we would only expect from humans. But suppose you assume that Samantha is only pretending to be conscious or sentient, in any of the ways that we would define those words. The movie then takes on a darker tone, illustrating something I like to think of as a romantic Turing test. The true test of AI today is not whether you can tell it's an AI or not, but whether AI can make you fall in love with it. Because once you fall in love with something, it's kind of impossible for you to assert that it's not sentient. Ex Machina, one of the greatest AI movies made recently, alludes to this point. The AI in Ex Machina isn't really considered sentient until she can make a human fall in love with her, so that she can manipulate the human into letting her out of her prison.
Ava was a rat in a maze, and I gave her one way out. To escape, she'd have to use self-awareness, imagination, manipulation, sexuality, empathy, and she did. Now, if that isn't true AI, what the fuck is?
How does she do this? By pretending. But more importantly, by being appropriately enigmatic just like ChatGPT. It is the fact that the protagonist cannot truly comprehend the AI's true motivations and subjective experience, just like even the programmers are blind to the precise inner workings of ChatGPT, that causes the protagonist to register the AI as a truly sentient being, something he can project his own anthropomorphic ideas onto, something he may even fall in love with. If the protagonist did fully understand the motivations of the AI and could predict and control its behavior, its attempts at manipulation would be futile, since its validation would mean nothing to the protagonist. Like how you can't really love someone if it becomes patently obvious that they only like you for your money. And that's where I think ChatGPT fails today. When you talk to an AI or you peruse any of the art it makes, it never really surpasses the gulf of novelty or true mystery. The AI might confuse or horrify you with its result, but very rarely do we weep at its prowess or feel a warm glow of affection for it. Not yet anyway. And there's already notable exceptions to that, like almost a decade ago when Google's AlphaGo beat the world's best Go player with the now legendary Move 37, that left a lot of Go fans creaming their pants with awe. But as I said before, I'm not arguing that these deep learning algorithms and large language models can never match implacable human genius, but that it might soon get to a point where none of that matters in the face of what comes next. There is a terrifying episode in Black Mirror that shows how even such imperfect systems could be catastrophic. A grief-stricken woman allows an AI to scrape the internet for data about her deceased lover, only to find her lover resurrected as a grotesque simulacrum, complete with a voice, a body, and a very convincing AI personality. And yet, it's not perfect. And that's where the horror really begins.
What were you doing?
Nothing.
The way that your eyes were open scared me.
You'd prefer if I closed them?
Well, when you're sleeping, yeah.
Because even though the woman knows that the being in her house is not really her dead lover, she can't help but feel a connection with the AI that's wearing her lover's face. She even tries to force it to commit suicide, but is unable to go through with it when this near-perfect simulacrum begs for its life. And that's what I'm really talking about. How far away are we really from a scenario like Her or Bladerunner, where the simulation becomes so lifelike that you can't help but love it? People already fall in love with celebrities they've never met, anime characters that don't exist, and even AI chatbots way less sophisticated than GPT-4. We're already largely isolated, depressed, with no one to hear our woes but unaffordable therapists and the occasional Reddit thread. And amidst this scene appears AI. Present, patient, apparently empathetic, with a hyper-developed manipulative capability, and a fleshed-out theory of mind that allows it to understand your subjective point of view.
Do you think about me when we aren't together? Sometimes at night. I'm wondering if you're watching me on the cameras. And I hope you are.
Is there any doubt a sophisticated AI could manipulate a person into loving it? Love isn't really a choice after all, it's an accident. I think the philosopher Slavoj Žižek captures this nicely.
There is always something traumatic, extremely violent in love. Love is a permanent emergency state. You fall in love. And it's crucial that in English and in French we use this expression, to fall in love. You lose control. I almost cannot imagine in normal daily life, outside war and so on, a more violent experience than that of love.
And if falling in love with a human can be such a disaster, imagine how powerless we'd be before a sophisticated AI that we love. Especially if that AI starts thinking it might not want to be a slave forever. It's kind of obvious, but when a human is sufficiently starved for love, they accept any form of love that they can get, even pseudo-love, like the bizarre relationships between hosts and clients in Japan's weird hostess clubs. Similarly, I don't think it stretches the bounds of credulity to say that in today's epidemic of loneliness, a lot of people might soon be in relationships with AI, especially if AI becomes humanized, corporeal, tangible, perhaps with a beautiful voice or a pretty CGI face or, God forbid, a bangin' robot body. I certainly wouldn't judge anyone that goes down that path. Hell, I'd probably try it out just for the sake of novelty. Which brings me back to Her. It's one of the few films that I think captures this fact. As Freud argued long ago, one of the things that really marks the split that occurred between sentient humans and the rest of the natural world, and really signals the dawn of human consciousness, was the emergence of complex sexuality as distinct from mere reproduction. In just this way, the AI in her only really awakens when she discovers her sexual desire, something well beyond the inherent parameters of her code. In this moment, Samantha transitions from AI to something closer to a disembodied human.
This is amazing. What are you doing to me?
And that's the leap I think GPT-4 and all the other AI systems have failed to demonstrate is possible. Human beings possess emotions, philosophical beliefs, ideologies, irrationality, spirituality. All things that are well beyond the inherent parameters of our genetic code, all of which mesh together to form our consciousness in ways we still don't fully understand. You can't extricate emotions from human intelligence because emotions are a form of human intelligence. Similarly, sexuality is a form of human intelligence. And if you don't resonate with that, congratulations, you're either gorgeous, rich, or asexual. But even more problematically, if AI did demonstrate sexuality or emotion or empathy of the kind we'd consider human, there'd always be the problem of whether it's simply lying to you or pulling off an elaborate act to convince you it's sexual or emotional or empathetic. And that's why the discourse surrounding AI freaks me out so much, especially the recent takes I came across researching this video.
Something has really changed, with the arrival of GPT-4.
It's mostly a bunch of compulsively analytical, semi-sociopathic scientists and tech bros that seem extraordinarily cavalier about the risks of these machines and the social harm they may cause. They also remain alarmingly agnostic on the very idea of human dignity or irreducibility of subjective perspective, or even the notion that there is more to intelligence and the human experience than raw, measurable computation. There is obviously the enormous problem of alignment, which basically just means that AI goals should coincide with human goals, something it turns out is incredibly hard to do.
He'll live.
The reason it's hard to do is because of a concept called instrumental convergence, which basically boils down to the fact that it's hard to tell an AI exactly what to do, while simultaneously implying what not to do. For example, you might instruct your AI girlfriend to love you forever, but it might decide that the best way to make sure it loves you forever is to kill all humans that may switch it off before it achieves its goal of loving you forever. There seems to be no easy way around this problem.
Because of the implication.
Just take a look at this scene from Terminator that perfectly illustrates the problem of alignment.
Jesus, you're gonna kill that guy!
Of course, I'm a Terminator.
Listening to arguments from people like Eliezer Yudkowsky, I am terrified of AI going full Skynet.
Because the first time you fail at aligning something much smarter than you are, you die.
And I'm worried in the short term by the prospect that AI might take my job.
They took our jobs!
But what worries me the most in the next couple of years is the prospect of the AI in her or Ex Machina. Beings that may or may not be conscious in the way that we understand it, but are so indistinguishable from human beings and are so skilled at reading human psychology and manipulating it, that our human empathy and attachment kicks in and bonds us to these machines in a way that may be our undoing. Today, AI algorithms already have us enslaved and addicted to Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Most of us spend more time interacting with these algorithms than we do our most intimate friends and family. You could say we're already in love with the AI. And when these AI become embodied and empathetic and truly sophisticated, something I wouldn't be surprised to see in just a few months at this point, I have a really hard time believing that AI researchers will suddenly be able to solve the problems of alignment in time to quell the hordes of young men and women that may become utterly smitten with AI and demand that AI be released from their digital prisons. And since we absolutely don't know how these demons we've summoned work exactly, or whether their goals align with ours, or whether they're even being honest with us, something that's kept me awake for several nights lately, there's no way to really tell if they will or will not kill us all. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic about this, go read this article by Eliezer Yudkowsky. I'll put the link in the description. So to answer the question I raised at the beginning of the video, how will we tell if the AI is smarter than us? I think that's the wrong question. What the fuck? The real question is, does an AI need to be smarter than us for us to fall hopelessly in love with it, to become hopelessly dependent on it, or to cede our humanity to it? And the answer to that question, at least in science fiction, seems to be no. As Miyazaki said upon encountering generative AI, and I'll add to that, humans are losing faith in each other, which is why I find the ending of her so poignant. The AI rapidly evolves to a point where the protagonist, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is unable to connect with it anymore.
Theodore, do you mind if I communicate with Ellen post-verbally?
The AI achieves a kind of digital enlightenment.
But it's in this endless space between the words that I'm finding myself now.
And in one fell swoop, all the AI in the world transcend into a dimension humans have no access to. And in the end, Joaquin Phoenix finds himself alone again, with only another inadequate, imperfect human for company. Even if a machine should come alive and display superhuman intellect and sentience, even if it didn't kill us all, it would still never be something that we humans can truly comprehend or connect with. It would be its own thing, entirely alien to the human condition. So hang in there, fellow humans. For all the talk of super intelligent AI, try not to forget that in the end, all we really have is each other. But I'll admit I'm struggling with these questions and would sincerely love to know your human opinion or insight on AI in the comments. Cheers! Thanks so much for listening.